PEA last year produced one of the best results in for the developing companies in the potash sector. So our NPV was over $1 billion, and our cost structure was one of the lowest, with $61 per ton of operating costs. Our approach is solution mining. So in other words, the methodology we're going to use here is solution mining, where you pump water into your ore body, you dissolve potash, you pump the brine back up to the surface for further processing.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Farhad Abasov. He is the chairman of Millennial Potash. And Farhad, it's great to see you again. How are you?
Doing very well, Steve. Great to see you too.
Farhad, the company out with pretty significant news today, talking about an intersection of over 250 meters in drilling. So tell everyone a little bit about what you're seeing here.
Of course, Steve. This is our second stage of drilling. So last year, you may remember, we did the first phase of our drilling that produced about 1.7 billion tons of indicated and inferred resource with very thick potash, about 70 meters thick. Now, we were expecting the thickness of around 70, 80 meters in this one as well. But this particular hole, which is basically a historical hole, which we've taken from about 350 meters all the way down to 680 meters, has actually shocked us on the positive side, because this is something that we definitely did not expect. Again, we're expecting the thickness of about 70, 80 meters. This is, as you mentioned, it's over 250 meters of carnallite and halite. So that means that, probably that's going to have a tremendous impact on not only the resource size, but most importantly, down the road, on the economics of the project, obviously in a positive way.
Yeah, you already obviously have a PEA out, and you talked about the numbers that were in there. But what does this do now for the potential of the project seeing something like this? And again, it's only just this one hole.
Yes, we will be drilling the second hole, so we'll see, how continuous this is. But look, I mean, PEA last year produced one of the best results in for the developing companies in the potash sector. So our NPV was over $1 billion, and our cost structure was one of the lowest, with $61 per ton of operating costs. Our approach is solution mining. So in other words, the methodology we're going to use here is solution mining, where you pump water into your ore body, you dissolve potash, you pump the brine back up to the surface for further processing. So you create these caverns. So 70 meters, we already thought that it was amazing, but now having over 250 meters, or even if it's 200 meters, I think that's going to, transform our cost structure quite a bit, because the larger the cavern, the lower your operating costs and the lower your sustaining capex. So of course, we'll find out about it later this year, when we probably take another look at our PEA, or when we actually go straight into bankable feasibility study. But at this point, again, we're absolutely astonished at these numbers.
Farhad, I want to ask you a couple of questions about the other part of it, and that's sort of the infrastructure and stuff that you're doing. I know that you've got strong support from the government. I would imagine that for a project like yours and what you potentially would like to do, having that backing from the government is really important.
Steve, it is absolutely critical. The government has been very supportive of this project. They had presidential elections in early April, and His Excellency the President has met with us on multiple occasions. I've met him personally, and then he's visited the site. And we see that strong support, not only through the political support, of course, but most importantly in terms of logistics and infrastructure development. There's a port that is under development. The first phase of that port has been completed. The second phase will be done next year. And then also they're building power infrastructure as well, which is extremely important. And of course, when the time comes for mining permit application, within the government will actually fast track that as well, because we really see very keen support on the part of the government. And they look at our project as one of the major drivers of economic growth in this part of the country.
Yeah, and that infrastructure that you talked about, the importance of it as you work into feasibility as well, having that already on the ground is obviously a big positive for a document that you hope to produce. That's a real positive for the company, I would think.
See, it is so critical. Look, I mean, all mining companies, or all mining projects, I should say, do need, obviously, full support. And of course, they need infrastructure for the project to be economically viable. But it's even more important for projects in our sector, potash projects. As you remember, this is our third potash project. And we've seen all kinds of potash projects worldwide where the project itself could be very strong, geologically speaking, but it's in the middle of nowhere. Infrastructure is challenging, and the government is not that supportive. So all of that actually falls on the shoulders of the company to develop infrastructure, and sometimes it becomes extremely expensive and almost undoable. So In our case, we happen to be right on the coast. We happen to have a very strong government support, and the logistics, as I mentioned, the infrastructure elements are taking shape as we speak, way before we actually hit production. So the port will be done next year. The power infrastructure will be in place probably by the end of next year as well, and we will probably hit production in the next 2-3 years. So in other words, we will be ready to start construction, and by that time, we'll have all the infrastructure in place. And that is very critical, Steve. That makes this project one of the most economical, viable projects out there.
Yes, and it all, of course, always begins with the drilling, and strong results out again today. Farhad, thank you so much. Great to see you again.
Thanks so much, Steve.
There's Farhad Abasov. He is the chairman of Millennial Potash.